Imagine this. A boy so small that guards had to stack books on the electric chair just to fit him in. 14 years old. Convicted in less than 3 hours. Executed before his parents even had a chance to hug him goodbye. This isn't a horror movie. It's American history. His name was George Stinney Jr. and his death remains one of the most chilling miscarriages of justice ever recorded. George was born in 1929 in Alcaloo, South Carolina, a segregated mill town where black and white families lived in two different worlds. His father worked at the local lumber mill. His mother took care of the home. George was small for his age, thin, shy, and barely 90 pounds. He loved drawing, picking flowers, and playing outside with his siblings. In every way, he was still a child. But in 1944, at the height of racial segregation, being black in the Jim Crow South meant living in constant fear, especially in small towns where justice was written in white ink. On March 23, 1944, two white girls, 11-year-old Betty June Binnicker and 7-year-old Mary Emma Thames, went missing after riding their bicycles near Georgia's neighborhood. Later that evening, their bodies were found in a ditch. Both had suffered brutal head injuries. The town was furious. Shock turned to rage. And in 1940 South Carolina, people wanted someone to blame. Within hours, suspicion turned toward George and his 7-year-old sister, who had been seen speaking to the girls earlier that day. That single interaction, an innocent exchange of words, sealed his fate. George was arrested the very next morning. He was dragged from his home in front of his parents, terrified and confused. His family was forced to leave town immediately under threats of mob violence. They never saw him again alive. At the police station, George was interrogated alone, without a lawyer, without his parents, without anyone to protect him. After hours of questioning, officers claimed he confessed. But there was no written record, no signed statement, only the word of the deputies. Was there really a confession? Or was it forced out of a scared 14-year-old boy who didn't even understand the weight of their questions? George's trial began on April 24, 1944, just 1 month after the girls' deaths. It lasted barely 2.5 hours. The courtroom was packed with angry white townspeople. His defense lawyer, court-appointed, barely cross-examined witnesses. No black citizens were allowed on the jury. No physical evidence linked George to the crime. The prosecution painted him as a dangerous young Negro. Ignoring his age, size, and innocence, the all-white jury deliberated for just 10 minutes before declaring him guilty. That same day, George Stinney Jr. was sentenced to death by the electric chair. On June 16, 1944, less than 3 months after his arrest, George was taken to the execution chamber at the South Carolina State Penitentiary. He wore a Bible strapped under his arm as he entered. Witnesses said he looked too small for the chair. Guards had to stack a Bible and a book under him so the electrodes would reach his head. When the switch was pulled, 2,400 volts surged through his body. The force knocked the oversized mask from his face, revealing his wide-open eyes, and tears rolling down his cheeks. George Stinney Jr. was 14 years old. For decades, his case was buried under silence. His family carried the shame of his name, and the town moved on. But activists and historians refused to forget. In 2014, 70 years later, a South Carolina judge reviewed the case. She ruled that George had not received a fair trial, that his confession was likely coerced, and that the state had executed a child without justice. His conviction was vacated long after his death. George Stinney Jr. is remembered today as the youngest person executed in the United States in the 20th century. The electric chair silenced George, but his story continues to speak louder than ever. His story forces us to ask, should the death penalty exist at all, especially for children? How many other innocent lives were taken in silence? And how do we heal wounds carved so deeply into history? So tell me what you think about this, and don't forget to subscribe. Justice doesn't always bring closure, and age doesn't always bring innocence. If this story affected you, share it. Subscribe for more deep dives into true crime's darkest corners.